Welcome, fans, to another special edition of the Old School Shooters podcast. Today, we are very pleased to be welcoming a MMA luminary, both in terms of a competitor and a trainer, the Free Monster, Matt Freeman, who will be offering his recollections in tribute to the late, great Stephan Bonnar. My name is Jack Kilby, Executive Vice President of Great North Wrestling, and we're joined today, as per usual, in a rather interesting and exotic locale by the King of Connecticut.
Before I say anything, hit the proper intro for Free Monster that I sent you.
Okay, a little bit off script here, but no problem at all. The show is
Stick to the
dynamic.
script.
The show is dynamic.
Or the Big MF.
All right, here we are, and I'll do it in my best Michael Buffer or Bruce Buffer. Undefeated in the cage and in life, the true master of the Stockton slap, and the man who taught the Diaz brothers everything they know, but not everything that he knows. Co-founder of Insidebjj, and here to remember his good friend, legendary Stephan Bonnar, and the legendary Free Monster Matt Freeman with the single bicep. How was that?
Wow. What a proper introduction. I am the original inventor of the Stockton slap, but I am the original BMF, and I'm really glad to be here. It's unfortunate that we're here to remember Stephan Bonnar because we lost him a little bit too soon. This has been a tough one. I haven't really been able to talk much about it, but I'm starting to heal and remembering him for the guy that he was. Thanks for having me.
Welcome.
Yeah, absolutely.
King, do you want to give a little bit of a context to where you're at right now for the fans that might be wondering?
Yes, I am. I never disclose my exact location, but I'm here in the swim spa at my Florida estate, and you can't see her. She's got the snorkel. I'm having her blow the bubbles off to the side, but I've got Jimsy's prized heifer, Stacy, underwater here doing the one thing that I will let her do because I kind of got to look away when she does it, but she does it oh so well. And it's great to be here with you, Jack Kilby, Gentleman Jack. The Big MF is an absolute legend, and I know he taught some tweaks. Everybody knows Bonnar was the final black belt of the legendary Carlson Gracie. But we also know that Insidebjj, the master Free Monster, did teach Bonnar some tweaks to his game on the ground, made him even more dangerous, and it's great to have him here with us.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Stephan and I, we did a lot in pro wrestling together. Literally, I could say this: we were pretty close, and literally about 2 hours, before he passed away, we were on the phone. So this is not something that anybody expected to happen. He was talking about getting back into wrestling and coming out in California and smacking some guys around, but and then he had the sudden heart attack. But Bonnar, man, he really made a lot of waves out here in California, NoCal. Wrestled a lot of matches out here, and we had a lot of fun, man. It's definitely. I definitely miss that guy a lot. It's pretty tough, knowing that he's not going to be here again, which is why I got to make sure I Stockton slap more motherfuckers in honor of Stephan Bonnar and the friendship that we had. So definitely, man, God damn, that's a tough loss right there for everybody in the MMA community. Oh, I will say this, though. I'm pretty good at the Stockton slap. Dana White recently did his impression of the Stockton slap, and I thought it was pretty weak because his lady took it like a champ. She was ready to come back for more.
Yeah, she completely no-sold that.
No-sold that slap.
It's insulting to put Stockton, the word Stockton, in front of that rather effeminate slap. Dana White, of course, his past career as a jazzercise instructor. He's always been the kind of fella that'd be whistling Stranger in Paradise if he ever did accidentally stumble into a men's locker room.
Yeah, I really feel like that was the slap of someone who made a career out of cardio kickboxing. You could really see it. You could see the cardio kickboxing come out when he threw that. Very, very, very effeminate slap. As a matter of fact, I think her slap, which is getting overlooked, was a lot stronger than his. She threw a Stockton slap. He threw like a Manteca Tracy slap.
Absolutely. Back to Mr. Bonnar. Can you let the fans know when you first met Stephan and your initial impressions?
I
Yeah,
introduced
so
Bonnar first, right? Fremont stuff.
yeah, no, it was through the king of Connecticut over here, Matt Granahan. I had seen a post of his. He was managing Stephan and someone else at the time, and I had a wrestling school at the time. There was this jabroni by the name of Vinny Massaro. We were teaching the class together and teaching wrestling classes, and I had to Stockton slap him. I'm running, and I ran him right out of business. But that's kind of how we linked up with Bonnar. We were doing jiu-jitsu seminars, and I was booking him for pro wrestling matches. And my first impression of Bonnar was he was so fucking strong. Like when you're in training, and and he would suplex me, he would fucking launch you. It was the scariest motherfucking thing in the world is to take any goddamn move from Bonnar because he would launch you across the fucking ring. It would everyone would like talk about how you don't want to train with Bonnar because he will fucking launch you, and it was like, have you ever been launched through the air? That's what it definitely felt like.
I gotta tell you, Fremont, sir, I loved Bonnar's not only grappling and pro wrestling style, the way that's what pro wrestling's supposed to be, man. I've told the Show Tanaka story on here when Rettel got the pussyitis. I told the story when we were broadcasting together in Spartanburg, and we had the little grappling match that the cut man and corner man wanted to see, and Bonnar almost broke my arm. He was so powerful, and the fact that he fought at 205 and he was walking around like
Dude,
a monster at 250 pounds,
at
and then
least
come to that at least 260. That amazing that he made that cut to 205 because he was such a stud, such a great athlete.
I'll say this: I've trained with a lot of guys, Diaz brothers, Baroni, a lot of people, but and I've grappled boxed with a lot of people, and most people, even if they're fighters or in the cage or top fighters, I would have we would go and I would feel like I'm in this, like I'm not getting murdered, I might not be winning, but I'm in this, I'm game. With Bonnar, it was like, holy shit, I'm just trying to fucking survive and not get killed like the entire fucking time. Like his strength was fucking unreal.
Do you feel, Matt, that element of realism that you're speaking of is missing from
Yes.
the pro wrestling product today?
Yes.
I'm interested in your thoughts on
Jesus,
that.
there's so many. I mean, even out here in NoCal, there's so many pussies in pro wrestling. I don't know what happened. When did all the pussies take over? When did the fucking dorks and the fucking losers and the rejects and the guys that couldn't make a wrestling team or a football team or the guys that couldn't get laid start running this shit? It's like, I don't know when that happened, but Bonnar's a throwback, King's a throwback, I'm a throwback. There's not a lot of guys like us left anymore in the sport. It's really getting bitchified. Which is one of the reasons why I continue in this, NoCal wrestling thing out here, is because I can't let the thing that I grew up with continuously get more and more bitchified and watered down with bitches. So, I got to stick around and throw Stockton slaps on these motherfuckers. Because I can tell you, especially here in NoCal, it's like, I feel like instead of Suplex City, I'm living in Bitch City.
Yeah, I told the story on the show, one of the episodes, where it might have been the Briscoe one, where I had this kid. This was maybe 2015. I had this. This was a rugged promotion too. It was Jerry Bragg's J Eagles. He ran every Saturday in the Upstate. They had some shooters. We had some good shooters in there, and this one kid was such a bitch. He wanted to do all this stuff on me that I wouldn't let him do, like the flips and stuff. And I just wrestled him. And when I went back in the locker room, he was crying, telling everybody that I shot on him, crying like a little bitch. And, Baroni, when he was on, we talked about this. And our mission and the Free Monster was part of this mission was to honor the legends, man, the Billy Wickses, the Dan Severn, the Frankie Canes, the Danny Hodges, the Billy Robinsons, the Carl Gotches, people that made professional wrestling. Professional wrestling used to be an elite club. You used to have to be tough just to get in. Fucking Terry Bollea, Hulk Hogan broke his leg. He was tough. He came back. And, it's just funny, man, talk about Hogan. I was out in Clearwater back around Halloween time. And I'm at the bar with one of my buddies. That's like a biker bar. And the bartenders are telling this story of when Hogan was going through his divorce with Linda. And he beat the shit out of these three bikers that were in there to brutalize these guys. And Hogan had to be, this was some years ago. What was that, 15, 16 years ago? But Hogan was a man at that time. Imagine if Seth Rollins was in there. He got his ass beat. Fucking pussies. In professional wrestling, I've said this before and I'll say it again, it's an homage to guys like Stephan Bonnar, an homage to the Free Monster. And it's what my old coach and mentor, Billy Wicks, told me. He said, if you go into pro wrestling, you tell those people there's not a damn thing that I do in that ring to my opponent that I can't do to all you fat slobs paying a ticket to see me. And that's what professional wrestling has to be. We had
Amen.
We'll only tell the Baroni. I'm confident that the Baroni Teddy Hart match will happen. I'm not going to get into why, but I'm pretty confident it will happen. And that's two tough guys. And we'll honor Stephan Bonnar and continue to honor Stephan Bonnar. And, I wanted to say to Matt, kind of ask you this question. I know you were saying, you were often on the phone with Bonnar in the mornings, at its way to work. And some of those conversations, not to share a personal conversation, but how close you guys were.
I definitely shed a lot of tears over that one. It's still, it's still hard to talk about. Bonnar, what I love about Bonnar, he wasn't a quitter. Life threw him a curveball after curveball, and he kept pressing forward, and he was still pressing forward. He battled addictions and came back. He came back from that. And the one thing I do want to clear up for everyone, and I'm pretty sure that I could say this wasn't something where he was on drugs and overdose or something like that. I see those rumors going around. Bonnar, had kicked drugs, which is, that's not an easy thing to do. He had kicked drugs. He had, a documented pretty bad addiction. He beat all that. There was occasions where we partied a little bit. He was clean for a long time. We did a little bit of partying, but he never got hooked on drugs again. This wasn't really drug related. And it was, a sudden heart attack that, as far as I know, that we didn't see coming. He didn't see coming. He was talking about getting back into wrestling again.
You could almost see it coming because of that staph that he had. And that staph infection, MRSA. He lost all that weight, and his heart was so weak. We don't think in terms of our organs the right way. I don't think. I have an announcement to make too on the show that I want to make in conjunction with this. Is Spiro Papacosmos called me, who's the coach of Rolla Kai, my old wrestling program that I headlined the fundraiser for with Dan Severn in 2017 and Chase Brown. He called me day after Christmas. He had a heart transplant. Spiro was on the brink of death. Spiro really, I was a stud wrestler back home, but Spiro was the man. He's really the greatest to come out of our high school. And he was fortunate to get a heart transplant. And he has a young man's heart again. He's challenged me to bring one of my wrestlers that I'm coaching up against one of his stud wrestlers, and we're going to have a tag team match at Norwalk High School coming early summer in June. So I'll be coming back up there. And he got a new heart. And it made me think of Stephan when he told me that. And we talked about Stephan. And Spiro said, yeah, I probably wouldn't have made it because my heart was so weak. He had some real big heart incidents. So we don't think in the proper terms as humans, right? We don't think of ourselves as mortal. We don't think of, I mean, guys our age, we're all three of us are older guys. We don't even think of ourselves as older guys, but we're older guys. And our organs have a lot of wear and tear on them.
You got that right,
So,
brother.
you know, I'll tell you, man, many men die, yeah, but few ever really live. And Stephan Bonnar lived. And one lesson I take away from it is live every day to the fullest.
No doubt about it. And I can't fucking help but think about that piece of shit fucking cocksucking hospital that did Bonner so fucking dirty. And you know, you're a hospital. You should be treating people when they come in to get treated. There's a lot of misconceptions about that. Bonner hurt his back in a wrestling match out here in NorCal. He fractured his vertebrae. And you know, he did, you know, if you ever had a fucking fractured vertebrae, so some pain pills are fucking necessary just to fucking live. So it wasn't like he was asking for an astronomical amount of drugs, or you know, it was a prescription. He had a friend, a UFC doctor that had helped him out a lot over the years, and he couldn't see him personally. They didn't want to fill the prescription without him seeing someone personally. This was not a drug addict. I the night 2 nights before this had happened, we were together, we were wrestling, you know, we went out and hung out with some chicks. He wasn't on drugs or addicted to drugs. He needed
No,
help.
and here's another thing too. Bonner was not an alcoholic either, and I'm going to tell you why. Because me and Bonner had many times where we'd have a couple beers. You know, I remember when we were with the promoter for 864, like the Thai restaurant. We have a couple beers, and we go back to the hotel, watch TV, crash. Then other nights when we're out with women, you know, maybe he breaks into the Jack, and when he broke into the Jack, you know, that's when he got wild. But he could regulate, man. There was quite a few times with Bonner where he only had a couple beers, so that's not an alcohol. I have to stop judging people. People have to remember one thing too, and it's old school. Mind your business. It's good for your teeth. And that goes for any of my friends that people are talking about. And I'm only going to say this: just pay close attention to who I am and mind your own business. It's good for your teeth.
I would second that statement, but you know, that hospital, back to that hospital, they wouldn't treat him, and they threw him out. It had a lot to do with COVID and vaccines more than anything else, and maybe, you know, Bonner copped an attitude back with him, and that's why they tore the police pushed him down, and it tore his ACL. And he couldn't get treatment. Then 4 days later, he's in a different hospital. They took him in right away. They found the staph infections. They said, you're lucky you came in, you know, and he lost all that weight and he had to deal with staph infections. So I really, man, I feel like if that incident in Vegas with the hospital didn't happen, I sort of feel like maybe Bonner's here today. But, you know, I'm not a lawyer or a doctor, but I can't help but think about that shit.
For those fans that you know, obviously are familiar with the name Stephan Bonnar, but not necessarily his legacy, this is a question for each of you. I think it's a good opportunity to provide the fans with some information about Stephan's, from your perspectives, each of you. Stephan's one of his standout pro wrestling matches, or a couple, and of course his standout MMA fights that the fans could look up and become familiar with. And I'll start with you, Matt.
I mean, for MMA, it's a no-brainer. You know, the Forrest Griffin fight, which is the fight that it put the UFC on the map. Which is one of those, you know, I know it's not a part of the question, but it kills me over the UFC not taking care of their fighters. Griffin and Bonner really helped get the UFC on the map. Great fight, showed tremendous amount of fucking balls and heart. If you haven't seen Bonner fight, that's the fucking fight to go watch. It's one of the best fights of all time. Wrestling match wise, I would say one of his matches with Nick Aldis, they had a really good match. I would put that up there. That match, Bonner showed he can hang with, you know, some of the best in the business. That was a very a good match, you know, to check Bonnar out in for sure. Nick Aldis, Stephan Bonnar.
Absolutely. King?
Absolutely, of course. Not only the first Forrest Griffin fight, but the subsequent Forrest Griffin fight. Also, the Krzysztof Shashinsky fights were wars, bloody wars. And of course, not only the fight itself, which was awesome, which was a back and forth war, but the way that Bonnar promoted it and made it the only time Bellator ever beat UFC head to head in the ratings. The Tito Ortiz fight in Bellator. When it comes to pro wrestling, I'm partial to. I booked him in his first fight and called it for House of Glory for their big show at New York City Arena. The Sho Tanaka. That was good, solid wrestling because Sho didn't speak any English. They went out there wrestling. And of course, I got to direct people to this channel, to the Hannibal TV, when I teamed with the Strong Island Lolita to face those evil, but so sexy Buns of Deception, Summer Steele, and the American Psycho, Stephan Bonnar. It's here on this channel. It's got over 10,000 downloads. Here on the Hannibal TV, it's on another channel that has the whole vignette beforehand at the pool. That's got over 8,500. And then on Bonnar's own channel, he was proud of over 10,000. So over 30,000 people have seen that match that weren't in the arena. It was a great one. It was my pleasure to be in the ring with my friend, the American Psycho, Stephan Bonnar, for that.
You know, I'd like to add one thing in here that came to my mind. There was some people that posted some shit about Bonnar that I thought was fucked up. I think when someone dies, man, you know, we know wrestling and there's works and there's shoots and everything, but when someone just dies, to me, is a low class time to take a little shot at somebody. And I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Hood Slam, but out here in this area, Hood Slam, Dark Sheik posted something negative about Stephan Bonnar right after he passed. He made it like a little quote. It was right after Bonnar died, and it said, do only gimps and transsexuals get over at Hood Slam? Stephan Bonnar. Bonnar never said that, actually. It was Baroni's the one who said that, not Bonnar.
Even if he did, so what? You know, it's a joke, not a dick. Don't take it so hard. I mean, and as far as all these pussies and trolls, we're old school. And if you're a man, what these pussies say, Johnny A calling me there. I gotta dump it, but I need to go, guys. I got some other things I'm dealing with. Got some text messages coming in. Any final words, Freeman, before we wrap this up, Freeman, sir?
Yeah, no, check out Total Wrestling Federation, Next Level, Lucha Patron, Inside BJJ Podcast. You find me on Twitter at Inside BJJ, Big MF at Inside BJJ, Big MF 209 on Instagram. We got matches coming up. Thank you for having me on. One final word: Bonnar was going to slap Khan, and Khan begged him not to do it, and he was in tears, and so that's kind of why I think Khan's a little bit bitter there. But other than that, man, thank you for having me. Rest in peace, Stephan Bonnar. You're a fucking legend, brother.
Rest in power, American Psycho. And I just want to close it out with this. Silver Sages spread knowledge to the younger ages, old school shooters.
Thanks, everybody, and thanks, Matt. Take care.
Thank you, brother.